Okay, great. So yeah, I was just mentioning for meeting cadence, just to start with, so we'll keep like a couple of meetings a week. Wednesday and Friday, does that work for you to give updates, provide feedback, ask questions?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's gonna be okay.
Yep. Okay, perfect. And then for this Wednesday, we won't keep it, but I'll just send it from Friday onwards. And what time works for you guys?
Um, let's
The same
see.
time work?
Yeah, I think same times work. I'm free on that at that time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to jump on every call, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, at a minimum, if one of us can be on, we'll make it work. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll be on all the calls and
Perfect. And I'll keep it short, so I'll try to keep it half an hour, but we'll usually finish in 15 minutes.
okay.
So yeah, that's perfect. And then the next question that I had was for deliverables. You mentioned that you wanted documentation. So what we usually do is we provide any sort of documentation that you might have or you might require within the ecosystem because it depends on companies that we work with. So what deliverables are you expecting? Business requirements document, a project plan, um, and then a test
Yeah,
plan,
more.
things
I
like
think
that.
yeah, I think it's more about technical documentation of obviously
Sure,
the environment that's been built, both the back
sure,
end, the front end, how like the pipelines work for making changes, how
sure,
things are deployed in Azure. Um, Obviously, yeah, any business decisions that go into code, just
sure,
documenting. Okay, we asked for this, and this is why it was implemented that way.
sure,
That kind of thing. Anything that we can then hand off to an internal developer,
sure.
who would be responsible then for, taking on enhancements and, future development. They need to
Yep.
be able to have a good baseline to understand what was done within the project.
Absolutely. So what we usually do is we define the requirements in user stories. So and also we'll divide that in business or functional requirements and then system requirements. So that way it's easier to differentiate. And then also we'll add technical documentation alongside that.
Yep.
And then at the end of it, we'll also create some workflows so that it's easier to understand or it's easier to even give it to the users.
Yep.
Okay,
Sounds
perfect.
good.
I think those were the major points, but on the minor points or details that we have, let me just start with sharing my screen.
I think I should be getting in now.
Okay, I think Satish did share the proposal with you, so just wanted to confirm that the system or the high-level requirements or the overview for it that will support the structured evaluation sessions, enforce strict evaluator anonymity, apply defined weighted scoring logic, integrate with Azure AD, generate subject level PDF reports, be fully documented and maintainable by our internal IT team, as what we discussed. So these are our overview points, but in the scope that we're going to target, I still wanted to confirm. So session creation, which is basically draft, active, and closed sessions, then subject and evaluator assignment via Azure AD, direct report auto load, 40 question Likert survey engine, save as draft and submission locking. Just stop me in between if I'm just going too fast. But I think because we already have seen the document, I'll just quickly go through it. So anonymization engine, permanently identity disassociation upon submission. So as soon as a session is closed, the anonymization engine kicks in. After that, weighted scoring logic, which is 40-40-20 or the 50-50 rules. The administrative dashboard, PDF reporting per subject, CI/CD pipeline setup, and full technical and operational documentation. So now going through the implementation, so our weekly plan. So as what I mentioned, we'll have two meetings per week, and each week is our sprint. So I'll be defining the sprint plans for week 2 to 5, and I'll bring that up in our next meeting. And for this week, basically, what we are planning is architecture validation, the integration setup, the wireframes and design approval, and DevOps pipeline configuration. So does that look right to you?
Yeah, I think we're comfortable with the plan. Obviously, faster the better. But yeah, we're comfortable
Absolutely.
with this plan.
We'll try to speed it up. So we usually use basically prototyping, agile with prototyping and extreme programming, a mix of both. So we will try to create the prototypes as soon as possible. I think we should be able to get, something ready by week 4. But I mean, we are still kept just in case if we face into any roadblocks or any issues, we've kept in buffer for a couple of weeks here.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, great. So now we can jump on to directly. We actually have prepared some screens to review for you uh, to see if the requirements that we have understood are the correct ones. Um, so I'm just quickly going to go through the workflow that we think is coming from the requirement. So basically, we'll be logging into the dashboard. So this is an admin workflow. So when an admin logging into the dashboard, it's basically integrated with Active Directory, and it's a single sign-on. So I think the team had some questions here. So and I'm sorry I didn't introduce the team here. Rajesh here is our delivery architect and tech lead, and then Kiran is our development lead.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Hi everyone.
So yeah, our
Hi,
team
hi.
had some
Hi.
questions here. In that we basically were like for the Active Directory, would we get like a test server or test environment to work with?
So I think we would want to set up, probably dev test and production resource groups in Azure
Okay.
and give you access to that. And then obviously you work at a dev. In terms of connecting to Active Directory, I mean, there's only one, Azure Active Directory that we have. So I think you would
Okay.
be connecting directly to, you know, our real one.
Directly to the production one. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, we'll be careful with that then. Okay, then the
And we don't,
next,
and to be clear, we don't need anything to write back to Active
okay,
Directory. We're only going to be pulling
sure,
or reading from it. So I
Yeah.
don't think there's a lot of concern there.
okay. So, yep, perfect. Rajesh, did you have any questions on this?
No, Sean. So that's what I'm saying. We only require the read permission, not any write permission, so that it will be safe.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I don't know if it matters or not, but when you do go to, sign in with Active Directory, users will be redirected through our MFA tool, which is Okta. I don't
Okay.
think I don't think you necessarily, there's anything you necessarily have to do. I think it does it on its, it redirects on its own, but just something to be aware of is that users will have to go through Okta to multi-factor authenticate.
Okay. So a quick question there. So for us to access, you'll be giving us read permission, but you'll be creating a user for us, correct?
Yeah. So, well, you say user. What do you mean? Sorry.
For Active Directory when we access that. So Rajesh, I think this is a question for you. Um, so
Uh,
do you know how we'll be able to access it as a user or as a system?
as a user, we can access that, Sean. So at least we needed two users access. One is admin and second one is subject. I mean,
Okay.
Oh,
supervisor
so
kind of.
yeah, I think I know what you're saying. And I think in this case, so typically with like, outside consultants, what we do is we set up guest access, into Azure, to give you like ownership of the resource group so you can do your work or what have you. But I think what you probably also would need because you're doing actual testing with, you know, an Active Directory account pulling down, you probably actually do need a real Active Directory full user account. So we can work with our IT to get one set up, and I don't think that should be an issue.
Okay, great. Then I think, yeah, we can move on to the next point. So yeah, once the user logs in, again, this is admin. So for admin, we are assuming that admin could also be part of evaluations. So that's why we are showing you have 0 pending evaluations. You're all caught up. And they can click on go to dashboard to go to the dashboard.
Okay.
Okay, and then moving on to the dashboard. Um,
Is there a
so
reason why we wouldn't
this
just go straight into the dashboard?
Usually we want to show like if the other for the other users, if they have any pending evaluations, we want to bring that up front to make sure that if they want to complete it right away. But yeah, I mean, we can take them to dashboard as well.
Yeah, I almost
Rajesh
feel
or
like that would be like just a little alert message at the top of the dashboard,
sure.
rather than just an extra screen.
Yes,
Yep,
Sean. So
that
in
that
the
also we
dashboard
can.
itself, we are showing the number of pending things so that directly we can go to the dashboard, Sean.
Yeah.
Yep, we can remove that. Yep, no problem. Um, and then this looks like the dashboard. It's obviously empty.
Yep. Yeah, scroll down a little bit. There you go.
Sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't seeing the full screen. I see it now.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet connection is unstable today.
Oh, okay.
Everything, yeah, I mean, comes down to internet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right
So the
now
evaluation
we're
session,
seeing
once,
session creation.
yep.
Okay.
Okay. So when you click on new session, this pop-up will come up, and then the admin actually can define the session name, the open date and closing date, and then create a session. Does that look right to you? Or do we have any other points that we might have missed in this?
I think that's good. Would there be a way to modify the close date after fact or no?
We can. I mean, we're still defining the requirement, so yeah, we can.
Okay, I just
Let
looking
me,
ahead, like if there was a need to extend it a week or something, we'd want to be able to do that.
sure. Rajesh, I think we should have a way to do that, right?
Yes, Sean. So we have a way for changing two things. One is session name and second one is end date.
Okay.
Okay. So session name and end date. So this is how it'll look once we have created, multiple sessions. So I think we can add a edit button
Yeah.
for active and draft sessions. For the closed ones, anyhow,
And
it's completed.
Okay.
Sean, I
Mm.
assuming that the edit will be appeared until it's in, I mean, until we assign the subject and evaluators, right?
No,
Or
I
until
think
the status is
so.
active.
That's a question to Ray and Jeremy. Um, so will we be able to edit it until the session starts, or when do you think that you need those edit permissions?
You said where do we need them or when?
Till when? So I
Oh,
would say like a day before is usually the target that, yeah, I mean, if it's end date, like let's say 11th March, then we can keep it until 10th March, or we can have another set of conditions, which could be like once the session is active, we can stop edit, or, once, as what Rajesh mentioned, once we have added evaluators, we can stop the edit permission. So it depends on the requirement, it depends on
I
how
would
you
leave
want to
it
define it.
as an admin. I would just leave it open to be edited at any time. I wouldn't put any strict rules around it.
yeah,
Sure.
It's really just if they want to extend it for another month or two, it's up to them.
Yeah.
yeah. If we can do that, that'd be preferable.
So then we'll keep it until like for last date, right? So if it's 11th March, we'll keep it until 11th March, end of day.
Well, I would say even but if you someone logged, say 11 March was on Sunday, someone came in on Monday the 12th, and they're like, oh, we only got half the people to actually fill this out. We still need to get the rest. They need to be
Okay.
able to extend that out. So that's what I'm saying is there shouldn't be any hard and fast rule about
Okay.
when you could always edit it. So
Sure. Then we'll keep it open until the admin closes it, right?
yeah,
That's how we'll keep it. Okay. Yep.
yep.
So Rajesh, we'll need to keep it open for edit until the admin closes it. So we'll
And
have
even if the
to
admin
then
closes it, they should be able to reopen it. So
sure.
what I'm saying is it should never be locked down to an admin. An admin should be able to do
Okay.
anything to it.
So when do we lock it then?
No need to lock it.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say from a user perspective, like if they come in, I don't know why they would not have, done their thing, but if they were to log in on March 12th, and, there's no active session, they should not be prompted, to continue to fill it out. So from a user perspective, you would want to lock it down. Like you would say, like, there's
Sure.
nothing for you to do because that session is over. But to an admin, they can do whatever they
It
want to
should
these
be.
things at any time.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Let's go back. So we were at evaluating new evaluation session. So once that's done, um, then the user section. So again, like this is optional that we want to display because I'm not sure if we want to display the users, like we want to add the users and then display it. We can directly add the user. So that's why we have kept it optional. This is a screen that we already prepared, but then I felt that it should be optional because let me just quickly go to the next one. Yeah, whenever we are adding a subject, right? So
Mhm.
adding a subject and assigning an evaluator, you can directly do that into a session. So we don't need a separate screen for users directory because we are
Right.
importing users from Active Directory.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a little overkill in it. It's
Yep.
unnecessary to list it and hit Active Directory for that.
Okay, perfect. So then we can move on. So when no reports are available and when no session is closed, again, this probably could come in a little later, but this is a reports page, and this is an empty page where there are no reports and no sessions available.
Let me
So
ask
this,
real quick,
yeah,
Jeremy. I know we have the individual, users reports for their results. Did you guys have an overall report?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't, so it would be nice to have if we could aggregate,
Gotcha.
everyone that's being evaluated and all of their scores and whatnot.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, just something to think about is, I think we scoped out that there would be individual users would have a report, based on their evaluation.
mhm,
But if there's a larger scoped, full session report, that might be something that you would want to make available, when you go into, I guess, reports from the evaluation or from the session
sure,
itself.
sure. Okay, we'll come back with more questions on the report side. I just wanted to
Yeah.
quickly go through
Yeah,
this.
I think the
Um,
report piece will probably be easier, yeah, later once we have the this app or what have you doing what we need to do. I think at the end of the day, it'll just
sure,
be a bunch of aggregation of different numbers. It won't be overly complicated. I don't
sure.
think. Yeah.
Okay, yep, that works. When evaluator got zero tasks to complete. Um, so my tasks, yeah, I mean, so again, we have assumed that admin could also be an evaluator. So that's why we see this page for admin as well. Whenever there is no task assigned to the evaluator, they'll see this as all caught up and no pending evaluations. And then now moving on to adding a subject in the session. So once the session is created, you can actually add a subject by clicking on adding a subject, and then the pop-up will show up. Now, As what we've mentioned earlier, because the workflow had users page, we did not add more details to the pop-up. But the idea is that we should have the details as row and obviously the evaluator name, email, and all of that show up once we import that user. Now, a question here is the role type, does that come from Active Directory?
No, no. The role type would be defined by the admin in here.
Okay.
To basically define what type of evaluator they are within the evaluation session.
Okay. So it'll be defined by the admin. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because
Then,
it drives the decision on what formula they use.
yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Yeah, we had assumed that the role would come in from Active Directory. So there might be some gaps in the
The only,
screens. We'll
I guess
fix
the
them.
only point where you would pull from that would be if you wanted to determine a direct report. If you can determine the direct report relationship from Active
Mhm.
Directory, then you can set that type or that role for that user by default,
Okay.
rather than requiring the admin to do it.
Okay. I think we'll know that once we start testing with it. That's when we'll know exactly if we need to do it by default or if we just keep it with the admin.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so adding a subject. So what we'll do is we'll add all the other details here as well. So to define the subject. Now, if that's the case, do we still want to keep not keep the user's page because then it'll be easier for the admin to define a user directory. But now that's still an open question though, because um, will the role type change based on sessions?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's really your role is dependent on who you're evaluating,
Makes
right?
sense. Okay.
Yeah. So if I'm being evaluated and Jeremy is my supervisor, right? When he goes in and sees, his relationship with me, he's going to see that he's a supervisor on my evaluation,
Okay.
right? Whereas if I'm evaluating Jeremy, I would be a direct report
Reporting.
type
Makes
because
sense.
he
Yep.
is my supervisor kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. So then I think we'll be able to add that here. Um, Yeah, we've actually added that. So that's the next part of it. That when you're adding an evaluator, so when you're adding a subject, you don't need the role type. But when you're adding an evaluator, there are two types that we saw. One is the original evaluator or original role type, and then the one is display role type. So original role type, when an admin defines that, that will be used for the calculations. And then the display role type, that'll be used for display purposes only.
No, it's not the difference between display and, what you actually are. It's,
Okay.
you are choosing the role type of the evaluator to that person being evaluated to determine what formula will be used. So it really does depend on exactly what they are. What we need to be able to do is override that default setting. So
Okay.
example, if Jeremy's my supervisor, I'm the only person that reports to him, right? If we do
Mhm.
an evaluation of Jeremy, there's only going to be one person with a direct report role. If we're trying to anonymize this, it's going to be very clear when he sees this person evaluated you this, they had a direct report role and they gave you
Yep.
this score. It's going to be very clear that it was me, right? So
Makes
what
sense.
the admin needs to be able to do is to say, okay, let's change that person's type to coworker so that
Okay.
they get lumped in with the other 10 coworkers that evaluated
Sure.
Jeremy, and now he can't tell who was who,
Okay.
right?
But
So
then
you're
the
really just
date.
overriding the type for that specific evaluation.
Okay. But then the question there would be What weightage would we consider? Should we consider coworker weightage or should we consider direct report weightage?
Yeah, so then that's where the logic comes in, whether you're using the 40-40-20 split or the 50-50.
Okay.
You're using the 40-40-20 if the person being evaluated has 3 or more direct reports.
Okay.
If they have less than 3 direct reports, then you're going to use the 50-50 because you're going to have a supervisor and everybody
Mhm.
else is going to be a coworker. So then you're just going to do
Okay.
50-50 on those types.
Okay. I think we might get more questions depending on the use cases that we analyze. So we'll come back with more questions on this probably in our Friday meeting.
Okay.
But I think I'm clear for now. Rajesh or Kiran, do you have any questions on this? You guys are on mute if you're speaking.
No, sure. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yep, then we can move on. Um, yep, so this is how it'll look once the evaluators are added. So subjects and evaluators once they are added.
Okay, so subject is admin user 1, and then the evaluators are those 2 listed. Okay.
Correct. Okay, now logging in as an evaluator. So up till now, we've seen the workflow as an admin. Now we'll just quickly see the same workflow as an evaluator. Now, as what we mentioned, like you have one pending evaluation awaiting your feedback. We're anyhow going to remove the screen and we can bring this up anyhow, we'll see it within the dashboard as well. But if there are multiple evaluations, we want to show a quick notification at the top that you have like 5 pending evaluations.
Yeah, I think that would be just a little additional emphasis that you have this
Sure.
number of things to do, or
Quick
congratulations,
summary. Yeah.
nothing for you to do. Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, my tasks. Once they click on start evaluation, they can start evaluating. And as what you see, they can see their role as evaluator, my task, and then they don't have access to any other pages. Now, do we need to provide access to any other pages for evaluators or no?
No, but I think there needs to be a section for um, you as the subject as well, right? Because not only are you going to
Right.
be evaluating others, but you're going to be evaluated.
Okay.
So when you come to this dashboard, there probably needs to be a section of, you know, my overall, score or my, for this evaluation session,
Mhm.
and then the evaluations that I need to do.
Okay.
So
Ray, one caveat there, not necessarily, right? Like let's say we're evaluating just vice presidents at that level.
yep.
An employee who's not a vice president is asked to evaluate, they won't be getting evaluated.
Yeah, so they in their section they would see zero, you
Right.
know, zero
Okay.
sessions, subject evaluations. But that vice president that logs in will see that, they have an evaluation that's being done of them, and then they have evaluations that they need to complete.
Yeah, I think the way we had it last time, and maybe we had it here, I might have missed it, but in the list of evaluations, there should be a column that signifies self. So like I have to do myself. Then if I have 3 direct reports, it'll say direct report, direct report, direct report, and then it might say peers, colleagues, whatever you want to say, peers. Um, that's something we can do that way when we set up the evaluation, when we set up the sessions or set up the each, as an admin, as we set up each evaluation, we can designate it there. Um, or maybe it's fed from Active Directory. I don't know, Ray, but you know what I'm
No,
talking
I think that makes sense. I think what we're seeing here in this list where it says my evaluations and this tile. So this
about.
tile has your name, it has the name of the evaluation session,
Mhm.
the deadline, and then a button. I think what we need is one more line that says the type, what type you are, and the type would
Okay.
be self, supervisor, direct report, or coworker. Be one of those
Okay.
4, right?
So that means that people can self-evaluate as well.
Yeah, they have to do it. They have to evaluate themselves too. I forgot about that.
Okay. And is that for every session or just the ones that we specify or the admin specifies in
The ones that admin specifies, because you have to be a certain level to be
to self-evaluate? Yeah.
evaluated. So not everybody is going to have a self-evaluation. If you're below a senior director, but you're asked to evaluate a vice president,
Hmm.
you're only going to be evaluating them. There's not going to be a self-evaluation for you because you're not part of this overall evaluation process. You're just giving your opinion of someone, but no one is giving their opinion of you.
Okay.
So that's where I think it comes together. Where if there's a tile that's the self,
Hmm.
you're able to start that evaluation, do that evaluation of yourself, and then I think
Okay.
within that tile we'll also be able to give a button eventually for the when everything is complete of the report, where they could just click on the report on that self tile so that they can see, when everybody's completed their evaluation of them, they'd be able to access that report right from there too.
Okay. And that, as what you mentioned, like they should be able to access it once everybody's done, not while like if I have completed my self-evaluation, but everybody
Right.
else's is pending,
That's a
then
good
it's still
question, Jeremy. Say you have 10 evaluators assigned to you, 9 have completed it. One person just didn't get it done, and the evaluation session, even if whether it's still ongoing or even over, should you be able to see a report as the evaluation is being done, or does everybody have to complete it first?
Good question. Let's let's just say in this situation, we don't have to wait for them to finish it because a lot of things can happen. Maybe they opt out, they don't want to do it, or they leave the organization, something
Mhm.
like that, right? So yeah, we want to leave it open ended. So instead of 10, it's 9, and we're fine with that. And it should exclude that from the scoring or the weighting average.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, so as soon as at least one evaluation is completed, even if it's just yourself, then I think the report would be made available.
okay. Yep. We can do that. Um, Perfect. And then
Uh,
Rajesh or Kiran, do you have any questions?
Sean, one small,
Sure.
kind of question and suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when the session is creating, right? So there itself, when we added the checkbox like self-evaluation, so that the user can see self-evaluations kind of thing.
No,
That's what.
when the session is being created, that'll be admin.
Yeah, I
So we
but
can
when the
add
user subject
evaluator.
is added,
So
mhm.
the thing would be that when you, again, like Ray or Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm assuming that when an admin is creating a session, they can add the subject as an evaluator as well.
Yeah, the subject should, yes, be able to be added as an evaluator,
Yep.
and then the type would be
So,
self.
okay. And Rajesh, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that means, can you please go a little bit down,
And actually, I
down
don't think there would
the
ever be a case where a subject did not have a self evaluation to be done. Every subject should have a self evaluation.
Okay. Then I think we can add, probably when we are adding a subject, we can
subject,
add a
right?
default, probably a radio button or something, or an
Right, right.
option
Yes.
basically to add as a self-evaluation, a checkbox basically. And then if the admin doesn't need it, then we can just remove that self-evaluation. So that'll be by
Yeah.
default. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think everybody's will just have it as yes, but yeah, it's always good to have an option.
Okay. And Rajesh, do you have any more questions on it?
Only one question, sir. So, in one of the discussion, we have a conversation like we may have it two or more than three evaluations, right? Okay. So in that case, whenever we are creating the formula and finding the evaluation score, So we are not going to consider the self-evaluation, right?
Correct.
Or are we then what is the purpose of self-evaluation and where you can see that
Yep.
as admin?
It should show up, and I think you guys have a sample of the report, correct?
Uh,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
So it should show up, it should be kind of a what's the term I'm looking for? It should be kind of a bit of a benchmark that stands alone, because what we want to be able to do from the HR side is say, okay, if your score self score counted, you could skew the results. So we want it to be different, but we want to say, okay, you scored yourself an average of this score, your boss scored you this, and your colleagues, this, and so there's, and then your direct reports this, but we don't want it to skew the results. So we want them to be able to see it. We want the admin and our the leadership team that's reviewing this to see the self score, but we don't want it to factor into the score. So your question of what is the point? It's just there to see if there's a big disconnect. If you're scoring yourself really, really high and your boss is scoring you really low, there's some conversations that need to be had there. So that's really just to show the distinction between your perspective of how you're performing in your job in all those categories and all those questions, in contrast to how your supervisor or those other groups, peer groups, direct reports, evaluate. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Yeah,
got it. Yeah,
that's all. But yeah, it doesn't factor into the score. So you're wondering, why do we even need to do it? We want the individual to go through that exercise so they can be objective and grade themselves on the same 40 questions.
okay. Yep, that makes sense. Any other questions, Rajesh?
no, Shan, that's it.
Okay, yep, we can move on. Um, and then evaluation or completing the evaluation or rating a subject. So again, this is more of just to show how the questions and the evaluations will look when they are completing that. It'll be 40 questions, correct? In total.
Yes.
And then are those questions editable by any chance?
Editable by anyone? They shouldn't be.
Um,
They should be editable by who? Like in the future?
Correct. So,
Yeah.
with other clients, we have like a questionnaire that they use for safety, and they are basically changing the questionnaire per client. So here in this case, like by session, do you want the questions to be changed, or do you want to keep it constant for all the sessions? And then
Yeah.
if you still want to change it, that change is affected universally. So it'll
Yeah.
be for all sessions. So
We
depending
we
on how the
ideally,
requirement
yeah,
is.
we ideally won't change them. We haven't changed them in about 15 years. That
Okay.
all that to say, it could change in the future. So like Ray or
Sure.
whoever is around to on the back end, if we needed to change a question or remove a question, add a question, we'd want the ability to do it. But it doesn't need to be something that needs to be built into the everyday use of this thing. It won't change. And again, it hasn't changed in many, many years. So
But it should,
Okay.
yeah. I think the functionality should be there that you should be able to edit a question. But to your point, Sean, like it shouldn't be
Yep.
retroactive. So, question
Okay.
two is changed. Any previous evaluation session that has used question two should
Mhm.
maintain the old version of that question, and anything going forward can use the new version of that question, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
So we need
Yep.
to figure out what's the easiest way to implement that. Whether you
Okay.
just track the history of every question for every session, or do you basically only give the ability to create a new question that can be associated with a session going forward, and basically make that other version of question two just inactive or something like that.
Sure.
We'll have to figure that out.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Again, this would be an additional functionality, so we can target that once we have the prototype ready.
Yeah.
So that way it doesn't affect our current timeline.
Yeah, it's more of probably a nice to have than a must have right now.
Sure. Yep. That makes sense. And then let me see if I can zoom in. Yep. Any other suggestions or any other feedback on the screen?
I think each column you should specify
Mhm.
exactly what we mean by 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying least and most, it needs to say one,
Yeah.
least effective, less,
And
they
Ray,
need to
I wouldn't
understand
even, I would,
specifically.
yeah, I don't even know if you need the number, but yeah, you're right. Let me check our report and see what we had. Do we have the number on the report too?
It's a good
I'll
question.
look.
I'm not sure, but yeah, they need to know exactly what 1, 2, 3,
Sure.
4, and 5.
Absolutely. And is that okay if we ask you to give us like what you
Yeah,
define? Yep.
absolutely.
Sure. Yep. That's
What do
um
you, what do you
and
mean by define?
so least and most. So what would two and three and four mean? Or what do you
Oh,
use?
it would be,
Um,
I'll tell you right now, it'd be least effective, less effective. We can send you an email. And then
Oh,
as effective,
perfect. Yep.
number three would be as effective.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, actually in the report, the output report, it's new, it's the columns are just numbers. Probably just to keep it lean and not bulky. Um,
Sure.
so, but for the evaluation piece, I think to Ray's point, we should say those words, and then on the a report on the output, it's fine if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and
Okay.
the
We
percentages.
don't want any we don't want any ambiguity for the evaluator. They need to know
Correct.
exactly
Yeah,
what's
right. Exactly right. So
going.
Sure.
when you're evaluating, you want to make sure, yeah, you don't want to have to memorize what a three is. Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. Yep. That makes
So
sense.
we'll email you that. As soon as we get off the call, I'll email you what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mean.
Perfect. And also, can you also send a sample report if you can?
Yes, I'll do that as
I
well.
don't think we have a copy of the report.
Yep,
Hmm, let me see.
absolutely will.
Okay. Perfect. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, we're going to show a quick completion percentage, like how many questions that they have completed, a tracker at the top. So again, this is for 10 of 10, but it'll be out of 40. So just to show the user that what they have completed so far. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they definitely need to know that.
Okay,
And they'll also
perfect.
be able to pick up where they left off, right?
Yep,
yeah,
save
that's
as
good.
draft.
Yep,
Yeah. So as they select something from every item, we should be saving that. So as soon as you click
Definitely, yeah.
buy for number
I was going
one,
to suggest that auto save, we should keep auto save, and
yep,
then they can also click on save as draft, but it'll be auto saved.
yeah.
That's what we'll keep it. Yep. Okay, any other points on this? And then submit evaluation should not be active until they complete all, right? Or
correct.
do we want to
Correct.
keep it open? Yep, okay.
No, yeah,
So
it should.
once the
They
tracker
can't
is
submit until
completed,
everything is done.
okay, perfect. So once the tracker is completed, that's when submit evaluation would be active.
Yep.
Okay, and then the next one, yep, confirm submission. So once they submit, it'll anonymize their information. So that's why we have kept submit and anonymize. So is that correct, or do we want to not say that?
I don't know if they necessarily need to know, but they do need to know that once you have submitted, you will not be able to edit. So we can give you the exact verbiage on
Sure.
that, but we
Perfect.
don't
Yep.
necessarily have to say it's going to be anonymized. We could say a little bit more friendly.
Okay. Yep.
You don't think it's just ain't right?
It's up to you.
I think it's good to remind people. I think we talk about it a lot, and I think people are still always skeptical, right? So I think it's good to just have it there. That hurt.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we'll give you exact verbiage for what we want on this. So,
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. That works. Okay, great. And then the next one. So we are back to admin logins. So for closing the session, there's change from active to close. So that should be a manual process. So admin should be able to close it.
yeah.
It shouldn't be an automated process, right? So as soon as all the evaluations are done, is there a way to add more evaluators or extend the session just in case? I mean,
So I think it's okay for us to change the session to closed after a certain time. But if that's going to require a process that's constantly polling every time, like that might be overkill.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a relatively simple thing to just auto close it after a certain date, great. But if it's going to be too complex, then we can just leave it up to the admins to close the session out.
Sure. I think one way to auto close it would be if all the evaluators have completed the evaluation and the date, the close date is passed. So if that's the case, we can auto close it. Yeah,
Okay.
for every other scenario, we'll keep it open and let admin close it.
Okay.
And also, like a quick question, admin should be able to add evaluators, even if, let's say, like admin has added 10 evaluators and the closing date is 5th March and it's still 3rd March. And I mean, there are 2 days left and admin wants to add 2 more evaluators. Can they still do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They can do that.
Okay. Okay, I think yeah, those were the major points that we had. Apart from that, yeah, I mean there are certain screens, a minimum of 3 responses required
So
to
that
generate the report.
it's not specifically 3 responses. It's that
Mhm.
you need to have 3 or more direct reports
Yep.
for us
Okay,
to use direct report as a evaluator type,
okay,
and then that determines again the formula.
40,
Um,
40, 20. Yep.
but when we set up the list of evaluators for a subject,
Hmm.
it's on the admin to say, okay, well, this person only has 2 direct reports, so let me change those 2 people to coworker type, and
Yep.
now this
Okay,
person's going to have 1 supervisor, 9 coworkers. Great, off they go. Um,
okay.
to a user, to anybody else, it's not about 3 responses or anything like that for
Yep.
any other kind of anonymity.
Yeah. Everything should be anonymous regardless. But Ray, going back to the direct reports and that piece, is that something? Because I know when the old platform, it knew who your supervisor was. So like when I like let's say I added you,
Mhm.
it would bring your name in, but it would immediately also bring in the name of your supervisor and your direct reports. You think that's going to be the case from Active
Yeah,
Directory?
is that something that we can do, Sean? So as soon as I'm added as a subject, it's going to pull
Hmm.
Jeremy in because he's my supervisor.
We can do that. I mean, I'm not sure if it'll be available in Active Directory. If it's there, then we can directly pull it, or if we have added the users already.
Yeah, 'cause I think we have
Yeah.
our org chart, set up in Active Directory,
Okay.
so
Yeah,
we
we
can,
do. Yep.
yeah, because we can like hover over a person, in Teams, and then you can see who they
Yep.
report to and that whole thing. So
Then I think we can.
information should be there.
Then I think we can. Correct, Rajesh? That's what we were discussing. That if there's an organization chart available, then yeah, we can pull it.
Yes, sure.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
that's how it worked in the past. I presume it's the case now. And just to expand on that, if I pull in Ray and I want to create an evaluation for Ray, and he only has one person on his team directly reporting to him, I should be able to modify and move that individual into the peer group because we don't want anyone that has two or one less than three direct reports evaluating them because when you show that score for the direct report score, to Ray's point, I think earlier, it'll be easy to tell who gave you some bad remarks maybe because there's only one of two people. So we just want that ability to be able to modify, edit, calling someone a direct report, changing them to a peer, which is fine. Um, if you've got three or more, we're good with the direct reports. But if there's only two or one or zero, or actually it wouldn't be zero, but two or one, we'd want to move them into the other category. So something to consider, and that's something we should be able to modify, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay.
And that's where, I mean, I still have that question that the weightage. So assume that there are 8 coworkers and 2 direct reports. And because there are 2 direct reports, we convert them into coworkers. So there
Yep.
are 10 coworkers.
Correct.
Now, the weightage for that how does that,
50-50.
It's going to
which
be on the
format?
report I send you.
40?
You're going to see it at the bottom of every
Okay.
page. It'll have we in the report because we want people looking at the report to know what the weighting was. But I'll answer your
Okay.
question. For direct reports with less than three, the weighting is 50% supervisor and 50% coworker.
Okay.
And
Makes sense.
in the inverse, if you do have direct reports part of that group, then it is 40% supervisor, 40% coworker, and 20% direct reports.
Okay.
And again, self score does not count at all. Yeah.
Okay. And would there be a case where like there are, five direct reports and you convert two of them to coworker? So there are three direct reports and there are still two coworkers, and probably there are a few more other evaluators added. Would there be a use case like that?
I can't see that.
Mm.
No, no. If you truly
Okay.
are reporting to someone, we wouldn't change their.
Okay.
Yeah, we would change them.
Makes sense. Yeah. And I think, yeah, the admin would look at it once the sessions are completed or once the evaluations are completed. That's how they'll see, and then
Yeah.
they can click on view report.
One thing we were able to do in the old platform was when you saw this list kind of right here, and let's say this is
Hmm.
for Ray, and there's, it brought in his two direct reports only from Outlook. What I
Hmm.
had to do in the past, and maybe there's a better way to do it, but it was fine. I would delete them and then I would add them. I had the ability to add anyone I wanted in the whole company manually, and I would add those two people in. But I could change toggle. I could call them, there was I think there was a way to just change them to coworker. So that's how I made them coworkers instead of direct reports. I would delete them from the list and then add them back
Okay.
manually, and they would come in as coworkers. So
Okay.
that's how we solved that problem. I don't know if and it was fine. It worked great. It was okay. Because you're only deleting one or two people. There's not a lot of people to delete, and then adding them back in.
And then when you add them back in, you want them to complete the evaluations again. I mean, in this case, the evaluations could be completed. So if
Oh,
that's
sorry.
the
No,
case,
I just meant in the initial part before you launch
oh,
in.
okay,
When
sure,
I'm setting
makes
when I'm
sense.
setting it up in the early part of this process, I'm setting
Sure.
up an evaluation for Ray. I'm going to delete his two direct reports, and I'm going to add them back
Hmm.
in. There should be an add button. I should be able to add in anyone I want, obviously, because I'm going to create that coworker list. That won't live in Outlook, right? That's manual.
Yep.
The automatic piece should be your supervisor. That's obvious. That's a one-to-one relationship, and then
Mm.
the direct reports, if there are any, should come in. And then if there's less than three, I'll delete them, and then I can add them in, those two people in, to the pool of coworkers.
Yep, makes sense.
Okay, cool. One other thing,
And
I'm gonna have to jump here in a few minutes, is when you, as you
that's what I wanted to bring up. Sorry, go
as an
ahead.
evaluator, can we just get and maybe you already have this figured out, but like an email, right? So I
Mhm.
submitted my evaluation to Ray. Um,
Mhm.
as the admin, not Ray, but as the admin, actually, let me think about this. No, actually, we shouldn't do this because it's supposed to be anonymous. So I shouldn't know that I filled. No one should know I filled one out. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna take that
Sure.
back. I think we should get an email. Maybe the admin is getting emails that people are completing the session. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think
I don't need to know that Ray completed an evaluation for John, but I'd like to know that Ray completed an evaluation, right? So it's like,
I yeah, and I don't have to
or even
necessarily
if it
want
tells
to
me
get
who he completed, because then as an admin, as me, one singular admin, I can at least measure the progress of everything. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's a nice to have, Ray. I don't know.
yeah, you definitely want to know. You definitely want to see a status of how many evaluators have completed their tasks. You don't want to know their score, what they scored. And also, I would be wary about getting an email for each one. If you have like
Yeah.
100 people assigning, do you want 100 emails? It's really up to you. But
I think we can, if you don't want to name it, we can still send an email stating that, evaluator one has completed evaluation for user.
yeah, I think it's
So
perfectly fine to
that,
say that person completed it because it's done. Like, yeah, the supervisor score is obvious. I mean, that's always going to be obvious because of the type. But everybody else, it's just good to know that it's done, for them, so you know who to go after. If you
Yeah.
totally anonymize it and you have
okay.
no idea of the 10 people who hasn't done it, now you're like, who do I go tell, or who do I go bother to get it completed? I don't know.
Makes Now, just a quick question. I know we are over time, so are you guys okay with extending the meeting today, or do you want to continue with the questions that we have on Friday?
I
No,
can go like
Jerry.
another 5 minutes or so. I just
Yep.
told my other meeting I'll be late.
Yep. Oh,
Okay.
frozen.
Oh, is he? Sean, can you hear us?
Um, yeah,
Sean, if you can hear, if
I
you can
was
hear us, we can
frozen.
hear you.
Probably. Yep, I can hear you now. Yeah,
Okay.
as I said, my internet connection is a little unstable today. And that's India for you. Yeah, I think we have covered major points, but we still had a few questions that we lined up for today. So we'll start with the first one. So Azure AD
Um,
test environment
sure.
details. So as what you mentioned, you give us a user.
So I'm gonna send you guys some forms or a form you have to fill out for each of you. It's like
Sure.
a consultant access form, and
Okay.
then when I have those consultant access forms, I'll provide that to IT, who'll create those accounts, and then what we'll do is we'll give you we'll basically set up 3 resource groups for
Okay.
this and give you guys owner of the resource groups so that then you can set up whatever you need to set up in Azure portal.
Okay. Great. Then the next one is how do we decide the user role? I think we have already covered that. The admin will define that.
Yep.
As I said, we were under the assumption that it'll come from Azure AD, but yeah,
It
we'll have
defaults from Azure Directory, and then the admin can change it.
sure. And then when an admin, and also like we had a quick question around this. So there are 3 levels that we'll consider. So because it depends on the subject, once the subject is added, after that the evaluated types will be added. So it'll be 3 layers: supervisor, coworker, and direct reports. That's the
Yep.
3 layers that we need to assume, right?
Yeah, for others, and then there's the self, of course.
Yep, perfect. And then when an admin manually changes an evaluator's actual type to a display type to protect anonymity, how should the math engine? I think we've also covered that. It'll be 50-50 rule if there are less than 2 direct reports, and 40-40-20 if there are 3 plus,
Yep.
3 or more.
Sure.
Okay. How many levels do we have to consider for the evaluation? I think we covered, I just asked that.
Yep.
The next one is session name is shown as a drop down in the video. So I still want to continue with.
Yeah. Session name is shown in the drop down, shown as a drop down in the video. But actually, we given the demo, right? I mean, screens, what we shown, right? So there we are showing the sessions as a list. I think
Yeah.
it's very flexible for the users and admins, I thought.
Yeah, that's fine. We're open to UI changes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
self
So actually,
evaluation.
we are expecting the 40 questions, whatever we have. I mean, we plan to show in the dashboard, right? Along with the
Yep.
grouping. So those also we are expecting from your side, but for timing, we are adding as a temporarily in our system, and we are playing with that. So later on, you can change them in the database and all. Okay, that's the next
Right.
one.
Yep. Yeah. So we have the question.
And
We want to be able to edit them. We'll have a
yeah,
categorization. We'll also have some of them we need to be flagged as whether they're for leadership. I think because that's a special section within the reporting. But I think I provided the database schema to Satish, so you'll be able to see.
yeah, we are changing little bit over there because so. to make the system more flexible. Okay, so in the later on also, if you want to create the sections and as well as the questions, so whatever the schema we are going to create, right? So it will be give more flexibility to the users.
Perfect.
So that's why we are segregating into the two levels like a section and questions.
Okay.
Okay, obviously whatever the thing you guys ask, right? Disable the question and hide the question. So we are going to add that as well in the question level.
Okay.
Yeah. Sean, are you there?
About that, everyone. I just changed my internet connection. Hopefully this one works. Um, sorry. So we were at session
Questions.
name.
Question.
Yeah.
Yep. We covered that, so we're good. We're fine with the
Perfect.
UI change.
Okay, perfect. And then the next one is, could you provide the exact data set for the 40 questions?
Yeah.
Question map out.
Yeah, I provided the schema to Satish, database schema,
think,
but yeah, we have the full
we've already
database.
covered that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Self-evaluation is also covered.
This, I think this we've already covered. Yeah.
Uh,
Go ahead, Rajesh.
uh, no, sure. So go ahead from the next point onwards. Are we starting
Okay.
the database?
So are we starting the
yeah,
database with a completely clean slate, or do we
I
need
was
to build
thinking,
data migration?
yeah, I was thinking that it might be worth pulling in like the last evaluation session,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can just validate that that everything is working as expected. But we're not like trying to compare them either. So it really just depends on, I guess, time, what kind of time we have, and if we feel it's valuable to pull that old data
Okay.
in, we certainly can.
So we'll keep it as at the end of our cycle, probably like nice to have, along with the
Yep.
questionnaire edit functionality. Is
Yep.
that okay, or do we want to keep it as a must-have item?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Sean, one small thing for you.
Sure.
If we want, I mean, basically, if if these guys wants to migrate the data, then accordingly we have to design the structure. If we don't require and we have to start like okay clean slate, then the structure we can we can change the structure and we can flexible. I mean we have a lot of flexibility over there. But based on this session, we have to taken care of schema design and all. I
Sure.
guess you
We'll,
got my point, right?
So,
we'll get you an answer on whether we have to migrate that data or not.
sure. Is
We'll
that
get that
okay if
answer.
we target it by Friday?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, perfect. Then the next one is, can another user um, with an admin role access all uncompleted sessions? So like admin one creates the sessions
Yeah.
and then in admin two access
Yeah. We're
those.
not worried about like admins, only certain admins seeing certain things. If you're an
Yep.
admin type, you can see everything.
Okay. So
If it's
all
something.
admins can see on those sessions
Yeah.
active. And then the question would be, they can see just the uncompleted ones or also the completed ones as well.
Well, remember they're anonymized, so
Yep.
once the session is completed, you can see that someone evaluated, someone completed an evaluation for this subject,
Okay.
but you wouldn't necessarily know who they are. Obviously, the first
Yep.
person that does it by order of elimination, you'll be able to figure it out. But
Yep.
yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay. And then how do we decide the evaluator role? I think, yeah, we've already covered
Yeah.
that. Do we have to display the original relationship type and then the display relationship type?
No,
No, I think we've already covered that as well.
just the type. Yeah.
Yep. So even if we change it, we'll just show the relationship type. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah, just whatever it is.
Yep. And then could you please provide detailed requirements of the reports? I think, yeah, once you send us the sample reports, I think we'll have more questions around it. But yeah, for now, this is also covered. And then the last one, I think, do we need to get users from Azure AD or from SQL Server? From SQL, do we need to provide a new screen to create the users? If we have to create the users in SQL, what about authentication using SSO? So I think this is a question, and then I think there's a comment as well. Ray explicitly mentioned users' data is going to come from AAD, and then usually HRs or admin create new users in Microsoft. So again, everything comes from Active Directory, correct?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever like identifier, comes from Active Directory. I would
Yep.
assume like, once you pull them, once you've assigned a person to, do a session, right, as a subject or
Yep.
evaluator, you
Yep.
store that identifier, right, that ID of that person and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But yeah, you don't need to pull like every single person from Active Directory down into SQL and then go from there. You only pull what you need.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hey, guys, I had to jump off. I'll see you guys on Friday.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeremy. I'll
Take care.
send
Nice
you
meeting
the
you. See ya.
invite on the same address.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Thanks so
Sean,
much.
Yeah.
Sean,
Bye, guys.
Sean and
Yep.
team. Sorry. I have one more final question. I mean, I
Yeah.
think you covered it, but might be I have a little bit confusion over there. So actually, when we are adding the evaluator, okay, so we added
Mhm.
the subject and later on we are adding the evaluator. So when we are adding the evaluator, I assuming that we have to get all the users from the Active Directory instead of the levels, right?
Correct. Directly, yes.
Instead of the level 1 and level 2, like a coworker level and up level and
That, I
on
mean,
top of level.
we get it by default, but then admin should be able to edit that.
I guess I
Okay,
just
so
realized I also need to jump. I apologize.
That's
Yep.
okay, Ray.
okay,
Yeah, no
okay,
problem. We'll come up with more questions on Friday. I'll send
Yep.
out the meeting cadences. Yep.
All right. And I sent you guys some documents, some of the information. I think Jeremy sent it as well, like example report, some other stuff.
Okay, perfect. We'll just
All
go
right.
through those. Yep.
Thank you.
And I'll set it up for
thank
the
you.
next 6 weeks. Is that okay?
Yep, that works.
Perfect. Yep. Thanks, Ray.
All right. Take care.
Yep. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Sure, that's it. Sure.